Hi. I see a great similarity between football match uh, and economics, the economic condition of our country from the standpoint of policy making. Just like a ball is defended by the defenders in a football match, defended against the opposite team, and then they pass it on to the midfielders pass it on to the strikers who are in the forward position, and these strikers would strike the goal, and that's how a goal is scored. If you see economics following a reverse pattern, it'll all make sense. The policymakers are the strikers who, if fast enough, who, if prompt enough, swift enough, will turn things around. They'll they'll integrate strategy into their policies and pass it on to financial institutions, banks, that is, financial intermediaries, and this particular layer would pass it on to different levels of the three sectors, that is agriculture, industrial, service sector, and finally to the retailers and distributors and the grassroots level. This is how it works. But if you're so slow, if the strikers slash the policy makers will stall away time, will squander away time, they keep moving the ball from here to there and nothing, and they're striking the ball in whichever direction, haphazard direction, just shows that they have no strategy in place. So obviously, even if the midfielders are great at their job, they will not get clear signals. And with if something goes wrong here and the policies are not well defined, nothing would be well defined. Not the sectors, the different sectors, agriculture, industrial, service sector will not show the kind of result that you are expecting from them. The retailers, distributors, everyone, there was the country's economy would lose a direction. So I guess when it comes to economy, it is the strikers, which are actually the policymakers, that can ruin the game. Allow me to say that because it may not sit well with many. Whenever I watched football match, and it's been some time, I always felt that these countries are doing better than us in this game because they have much more speed, they have much more strategy, and that comes from knowing the game. So it pretty much holds true for the economy as well. All those economies that have seen some kind of a turnaround for the better, let's take example of China, another neighbor that does the best in the manufacturing sector, and manufacturing sector in particular is being talked about because as a person who has had structured education in economics, we've all been taught that it is the fundamental rule to see a country grow is to raise the growth rate of manufacturing, and when manufacturing grows, it would have the greatest impact out of all the three sectors, that is agriculture and service. It is the manufacturing sector that would have the utmost impact on the growth rate of the GDP, which is precisely the single point focus of all countries. How does manufacturing grows? How does it increase? Obviously, the private players are always going to be hesitant because they're so driven by the profit. So it's the government, the administration that pumps in money, builds capacity into the manufacturing sector. And why would you be... I'll come to this later. So when they build capacity, how do they do that? By raising some kind of a debt. So this is the ratio of those countries that are doing very well in manufacturing sector, but they have sizable amount of debt percent to the GDP. China above 200%, US quite a sizable amount, Germany higher than what we have, in India at 54%. So even if we have less debt, we also have less revenue. So this whole talk about that the fiscal deficit has to be low, which of course should be low. But why is it low? How can it be low? Because all these countries that have high debt, they do not necessarily have high fiscal deficit. That's because their revenues are enough to neutralize the debt that they raised. If they don't take, if they don't raise the investment level, they are not going to give employment to people. People who are employed give taxes, and then they can give you back the money that you invested, and that's how the revenue is made. India does not have this situation going on. We have let's just say it's a case of a football match where the strikers are just whiling away time. Hard and too brusque as it may sound, but this is exactly what seems to be happening at the moment. You just have to inject a good amount, okay, fine, a good amount of fiscal stimulus, that is investments into manufacturing sector, and see things unfold. It's a sure shot method of success. Why do we dread, our Indian mindset dread taking loans, raising debts? And perhaps the reason is the fear of not paying it back, but you are not able to pay it back if the tertiary efforts are not taken. If you take loan and squander it away into either immature decisions or careless activities, that's when you lose your loan, not otherwise. So if you raise debts, if you pump in a good amount of fiscal stimulus into the economy, and you are not taking adequate measures to tighten up the situation, excuse me, just a moment. Right. All right, sorry about that. If you're not taking concurrent steps to tighten up the situation in form of building up your infrastructure, there's no point building manufacturing units if your infrastructure is so poor as it is. So there is a compound opportunity that the finance ministry could see in it, and it's a big wonderment for me why has it failed to do so so far. An insubstantial fiscal stimulus can only yield insubstantial result. That's exactly what has happened. The stimulus is so inconsequential, and so is the consequence. You have to pump in the economy with sizable amount of stimulus, and then see things unfold as more and more people get employment. They pay more revenues, and then the fiscal deficit also reduces, because this, if you see the data, this is the breakup of the fiscal deficit. You have less spending of the government by the government side in India, and also have less tax recovery. All of the countries have better tax recovery, and that's because there are people who are employed and can give away money as taxes. If you have less and less people, they are just not going to douse the economy by consuming less. They are going to not provide you with the kind of revenue that you are looking for in form of taxes. So I guess, coming back to the point, one strike in form of a strong fiscal stimulus and also taking concurrent steps like having your strikers placed at the right strategic position to build your infrastructure, everything is going to benefit. Better manufacturing is going to result into better trade, more people employed, more revenues, better GDP growth rate, and that is it. So I'm just waiting for some concrete, substantial, sizable amount of fiscal stimulus from the people in power. I guess they're just too hesitant about it, and as things unravel, we can hope that this stimulus comes in fast. All right, thank you.